Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Nigeria's National Economic Council yesterday resolved to jettison the National Social Register used by the Muhammadu Buhari administration to implement its own conditional cash transfer. Now, after its meeting at the presidential villa Abuja, the council revealed that the register is replete with integrity issues, adding that the criteria for its compilation were unclear.
Speaking to newsmen, Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State said, contrary to what the previous administration projected, it is not possible to digitally transfer money to the poorest of the poor, and majority of whom are unbankable, adding that beneficiaries of the supposedly transferred cash will not be identified in the villages. Investment banker and development economist Nnaemeka Obiaraeri joins us now for more analysis of the decision and what the implications are. Good morning, Mr. Obiaraeri. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Olive. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we've been talking about the palliatives that are to be given to the poorest of the poor. We're seeing that the register, in the exact words, they said it is replete with integrity issues. Is this not a concern that we probably already foresaw that would come? And, what do you make of all this drama going on at this time?
Olive, we actually, in truth, do not have any social register for the poorest in Nigeria. Over the last 8 years, we've been living a lie in this country and encouraging the level of criminality never seen before in the history of this country. To have a social register of the poor, where is that register? Olive, is a question that we've been asking over the last 8 years. How come this register is a secret only known to those in Abuja? It's very shocking. In America, they have social security number. For every citizen, for every person born alive in America, there's a social security number. Once you die, you are yanked off that number. You can easily estimate the population of Americans. You can easily know the number of Americans who are under poverty because of their social claims, social welfare claims. Here in Nigeria, we keep on hearing there's a social register of the poor. We don't know where this register is. I would have expected a country that have every means of capturing data. There is no part of Nigeria that is not covered through the GSM network coverage. Even the remotest part of Nigeria are covered. So how come we have not taken it as a point of duty to create a digital platform where these registers will be documented? The poor, their name, their social security number, every information that is available, even at the grassroots. We embarked on a register of voters and we saw how it happened. As of today, if I want to open an account with either a Sparkle Bank or any of these banks online, I don't need to go to any place. All I need to do is to go to go to Google Play, download their apps, put in the relevant information, snap myself, and that is it. My records are there, verifiable. So what we know and what has happened over the last 8 years has been, the kind of criminality that have never been seen before. So, and again, how do we even document this register to make sure that it is credible? I still have doubts that we will get this thing right. Basically, what we are trying to do here is to create, deceitful games to put away the minds of Nigerians from the reality that is on ground, that we do not have a government at any of the levels that actually care for the people, or very compassionate, very caring, very patriotic, and desire for the welfare of the people. All you see and the outcome of what they did yesterday was just a way of deceiving themselves. If time permits me, I'm going to address some of those recommendations that
So let's get straight into that, because I remember that in the previous administration, the 5,000 naira trader money and the likes, where analysts completely shut them down because it made very little sense to do that. The vice president, of course, was going through the market sharing 10,000 naira in envelopes and the likes. But now we are here again, and they're talking about 8,000 naira. I'm also going to share. It says the government officials were urged to also reduce the cost of governance in their states. Federal government will implement a 6-month cash award policy for civil servants. Food items, grains and fertilizers are to be distributed by state governments at the rate acquired from the National Emergency Management Agency. And also states are urged to initiate police to tackle the cost of transportation, amongst others. Mr. Obiaraeri, Is this what the Nigerian government sees as palliatives to cushion the effect of petrol price that is nearing 600 naira and cost of living crisis that is probably the worst that we've ever experienced?
Osarogie, the word palliative is very upsetting to me. Very upsetting because it's an elixir. It does not address the root cause of the problem. It's like somebody that has a tumor that requires urgent surgical operation. All you do is to apply Fensic to douse the pain. You've not addressed the root cause of the problem. The word palliative is very upsetting. Osarogie, over the last, from 2015 to 2023, we wasted trillions of naira on palliatives. As at 2015, we had 76 million poor Nigerians. After wasting trillions of monies on palliatives and their trader money nonsense and all those stuff, we ended up creating 133 million multidimensional poor Nigerians, 3.5 million Nigerians in IDP camps, and 95% of Nigerians, over 199 million, who cannot actually live on their income. Because as of today, anybody who lives on less than 150,000 naira income per month in Nigeria is actually poor, based on the cost of living and every other indicators. Now, Osarogie, at the root cause of Nigerian woes are two demons: the demons of corruption and the demons of insecurity. We talk about food security. They said, oh, food security, get NEMA to share grains. Osarogie, Nigerians are not lazy. The most resilient human beings that live on the face of the earth reside within this geographical enclave called Nigeria. All they want is to slay corruption, put in place security for them to go to. There is no Nigerian alive with his two limbs and his two legs intact that cannot comfortably make up to 5,000 naira a day if properly empowered, secured, and given the incentive to work. But basically what we have seen are a class of people I call political bandits playing games with our lives. Osarogie, corruption is at the root cause of the problem we have in this country. Corruption and insecurity. And these guys are not addressing it. Now they said, oh, let us go and plead with the governments and the governors and those at the constitutional units to cut cost of governance. It will not happen. The same people at the federal government urging the governors to cut cost of governance gifted 110 billion naira to 469 members in National Assembly. 40 billion to buy bulletproof cars in an economy that is homogeneous. 70 billion as palliatives to retired governors that walked away with 1.6 billion as retirement benefits. That is the kind of insensitivity and wickedness we see in Nigeria. Basically, what we are suffering today is the reason is corruption. And it is very obvious from Osarogie to the National Assembly to the 36 states, we do not have men who are sincere, who have the political will, who has the discipline, who has the guts to fight corruption and to slay insecurity. And that is why we are where we are today. I will give you a typical example. Today, we are rejoicing that we have 1.9 trillion to share. How did even that 1.9 trillion come to be? We never for anything, we don't have even, it's not as if there's a mega revenue, forest revenue flowing into Nigeria. What basically happened was that we moved the dial. Exchange rate was 460 before. Now at the I and E window is for 775. Basically, most of the windfall we are rejoicing was as a result of the devaluation of the naira by over 310 naira. And basically, it will continue because by the time they finish sharing this money, they go back to their local government and their state. They will dissolve this money and start pursuing the scarce naira resources. I expected these people to look at the root cause of the problem. And what are the root cause of the problem? Corruption, number one. Insecurity. If you address insecurity and can provide for Nigerians 24/7 security cover, Nigerians will go out there. Farmers will go to their farms. Traders will go to their shops. People that are in one form of service or jobs will do their jobs.
Right.
This country can actually produce what we eat and export nothing less than $200 billion worth of commodities and services annually. When you have production in place and corruption destroyed at the national and subnational level, Nigeria can become a top 10 economy within the next 10 years.
All right.
But at the root cause is corruption and insecurity, and these guys are not addressing it.
Mr. Obiaraeri, you're talking about the next 10 years. Right now, if we don't solve the immediate problems, number of people will not see the next 10 years because there is extreme hardship that is being inflicted, unfortunately, on the average Nigerian. You've talked about the social register that lacked integrity. You said it actually didn't exist, even though they are claiming that there was a social register that lacked integrity that provided for about 61 million vulnerable Nigerians. Now we're seeing that the NEC, which is of course comprising of 36 state governors and the vice president, have come together to talk about state governors creating a new register. They being the ones to run with creating this new register that would aid the cash transfers to the vulnerable. And their plan, and I'm going to read quotes this from the Punch newspaper. Their plan says that the idea is that as much as we're also particular about ameliorating the pains of our people immediately, a lot of sustainable measures are being put in place, and it's our hope that within now and the next 6 months, those sustainable measures would have begun to be visible, and then we can begin to taper down on these cash awards. Do you maybe think that these plans in the next 6 months will be able to effect some change? Do you trust that these governors can cause a change within the next 6 months like they plan to?
Olive, I have zero trust on whatever comes out from those in power. Only they've never matched their talks and tongues with their actions. I will bet you, I will bet anything. Drop? You said what?
What about when the list of ministers drops?
The list, see, let me tell you, it's not, even if you like, go and employ angels and make them ministers. If we do not overhaul the constitutional, physical, and socio-economic framework of Nigeria, those angels will join the current collective band of political bandits to destroy this country. Let us face fact, and that fact is what we must address. There is also something. The problem with these people that purport to governance, they do not think through their actions. Most of them are not creative. Because before you even embark on any action, you need to sit down and calculate the cost. As of today, there are many companies that will go under because of this hasty devaluation, without first of all sitting down to count costs. Only before this measure, before these policy measures, are you aware? Go to the banks and ask them. As of today, there are over $15 to $20 billion unpaid letter of credit by companies in Nigeria, small companies, medium companies, large companies, that unpaid LCs that were opened when Naira was at 460. Today, some of these companies are going to look for monies elsewhere to cover the holes. There are some companies that are carrying billions of Naira holes in their books because of this kind of thing. What I expected these guys to have done was, when I heard that they appointed Wale Edu as SA monetary policy, what I expected them to have done was, I was thinking, because Wale is a very smart guy, that they will have sat down with the banks and with the central bank and asked them, okay, today, what are the outstanding LC obligations in your books? Let us pack them aside and, okay, draw a line and arrange on how we can clear those obligations and have a fresh start. Today, many companies are endangered. Many companies are going to go down over the next 3 months. Mark it somewhere. I expect these guys to think through whatever they are trying to do. You don't just come on and massage Nigerians. Why you still go back there and continue? Most governors are going to be wasting annually over 18 billion naira on government house expenses that are avoidable. Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State. Call him and ask him how much he spent annually as government house expenses in Anambra State. Practically less than 2 billion. But some of the poorest states in Nigeria, the governors are wasting 18 billion, the cheapest you can get anywhere. They take 10% of every allocation as security vote. Yet insecurity festers everywhere. As of today, the pressure on the dollar, why dollar is trading at 850, is not because there is so much demand for enterprise development. Most of the 60% of the demand pressure on the dollar market is borne by corruption. Go and watch it. After they have shared this 900 billion, 900 billion, watch what will happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Naira may even hit 1,000 faster than we even imagined it, because they are going to use, there is no institutional mechanism in place. There is no physical structure in place to fight corruption. All the institutions of the state that were designed to act as check valves have been compromised or destroyed. At the state level, the members of the state assemblies have actually become the active house boys of the governors. They cannot checkmate them. So basically what we are running here is a dictatorship in the guise of democracy. If we want to fix Nigeria, for crying out loud, we must go back to the roots. Between 1960 to 1966, this country moved. Despite the fact that we were crying that was corruption then, the level of corruption we have today is monstrous compared to what we had then. Because we had an arrangement that made the political office unattractive to those who had no credibility or talents to add value in the public sector. The salaries and perks of office holders were tied to that of civil service. So anybody trying or angling to go to public office was actually somebody who had something to offer, not because they wanted to go there to make money and become billionaires overnight. That was why then we had the richest man in Africa, Sir Louis Odimegwu, as a member of the parliament. So if we want to fix this land, I pray and I beg Bola Tinubu and the 36 governors and National Assembly members and National Assembly members to go back to the constitutional basis, bring back the 1960 constitution, flesh it up, amend it, and fix this country so that Nigerians can breathe. If we do not tackle the foundational issues of Nigeria, which is corruption and insecurity, and which is dovetailed back to the constitutional and physical deformities in this land, I bet you by 2024 December, we will have 199 million Nigerians gasping for breath.
Mr. Obiaraeri, so I would like, it would have been really, really nice if we had, a person from the government, maybe from the NEC, maybe, representative, come and, defend and explain further. Maybe we're just not seeing it the right way. I'm not sure. But, there's also meant to be auditing. There's an Auditor General's office. Is it, are we going to look at this as business as usual with the fact that this 500 billion or 900 billion we're talking about now and the way that it is used would never really be properly audited and would never really be able to see and beat our chests as Nigerians and say, yes, the funds were used judiciously, and to those, even if, yes, a lot of people would agree that's a bad idea, but, there should still be some level of auditing. And then also, what would you describe as the thinking process for anyone who believes that 8,000 naira would be suitable to assist a family, a household, that of course has to buy petrol at 600 naira a liter? I mean, where does that kind of thinking emanate from?
Osarogie, I'm an employer of labor and I have a staff that, most of my staff, some live in Abuja areas of Lagos, some live in the mainland, Okowonjo, and areas like Ogba. Transport costs has tripled. Somebody that was using 500 naira as transport fare from Abuja to Ikoyi, Lagos, today spends almost about 3,000 every day. So a staff on a salary of 100,000 as minimum basic actually spends 90% of his or her salaries on transport. And somebody's talking about 8,000. What would 8,000 actually 2 days transport fare for one person? I'm not talking about a family. And these people are not trying to understand what is happening here. Basically, there's a total breakdown of trust and confidence between the governed and the rulers. And that is basically what we have today. And because you talked about auditing and all those stuff, let me tell you, Osarogie, every institutional framework of Nigeria, every institutional arrangement that have been put in place as checks and balances have been destroyed over the last 8 years. Have you bothered to ask yourself this question? Petrochemical plant LMA never worked under public sector. It was privatized by Obasanjo. Today, petrochemical plant LMA is working so efficiently and they are doing new trends. LNG is working so perfectly well because it's a PPP framework between the federal government of Nigeria and private sector investors, and there is corporate governance checks and valves there. How come the other areas that are under public corporations are not working? From NIMASA to MPA to customs to NNPC to the Ministry of Petroleum, everywhere is reeking of corruption because there is no checks valves anywhere. They've totally destroyed everything that holds this country there. If we want to fix this land, we need to go back to the basics. Between 1960 to 1966, we had a constitutional, physical, governance, and economic framework that provided for checks and balances. And things worked, despite the complaints. That go and check. The golden era of this country was within those periods. If we want to fix this land, let me just say, I have zero trust. And of course, everything started from the go look at what happened on February 25th and March 18th. 90% of those who purport to govern us were not elected. They rigged their way through. And when a man rigs his way through power, he has no incentive whatsoever to govern well and to do whatever that will make the people that he's supposed to be answerable to. So basically what we have today are men and women that grabbed power. By all means, grab and run. Therefore, there is no sensitivity on their part. let us see what we can do to win the trust of the masses, to win their love, to make lives better for them. To them, what they just did was to grab power for their own socio-economic benefit. That is why today we have over 117 accounts in the Nigerian banking industry, with only about 400,000, if you multiply the multiple accounts, that have up to 500,000 deposit inside it. Most Nigerians are bleeding. If you walk through the streets, sometimes I begin to wonder if these guys live within Nigeria. If you are somebody who is very compassionate, who is very in tune with your people, even in the hinterland, you is kind of volume of course you get every day. People are suffering and bleeding. And we need to beg these guys, have a human face. And interestingly, most of us are either Muslims or Christians. We are either Muslims or Christians. Friday we will run to mosque. Sunday we will run to church. And again, the religious leaders are supposed to be like a guide, reminding these people every day. If I am a pastor or I'm an imam, I will tell you, I will not allow any politician come into my church or mosque without reminding them Nigerians are suffering.
Well, that's not the reality of, there's the Asorok clinic, not the clinic now, the Asorok chapel, and I'm sure that politicians will go in and out of church and mosque unhindered. But I want you to quickly wrap up with talking about the Nigerian Labour Congress. Joe Ajaero did make some statements. Not very many people were necessarily impressed with their stance so far. But if there is going to be an opposition voice, or at least a voice that speaks the minds of the average Nigerian who is going through hell currently, just surviving every single day, who would you expect that it would be? Do you still trust that the NLC would be able to voice these concerns?
Osarogie, Joe Ajaero is an honorable man. He's somebody that I respect so much. But I can tell you, even Joe Ajaero is scared of his life. Most of the guys, activists in Nigeria today are scared because Joe Ajaero himself doesn't even know what may happen if he decides to go headlong. And interestingly, and that is the truth, NLC itself as an institution has been destroyed. Look at what's happening in Imo State. Imo State, I'll give you an example. Imo State today has become like the safe haven of bandits in the southeast. Imo State is the takeoff point of bandits destroying the whole of the southeast. Yet, the members of National Labour Congress there are not in sync with the national body. And it's what we have seen. Every institution, before NLC used to be NANS, MBA, they used to be like the watchdog. Today, every institution, self-regulatory agencies in Nigeria, most of them have been compromised and destroyed. People are scared and afraid of that. There are only very few men that can go out there and speak the truth the way I am saying it. And because people are scared, the insecurity there in the East, people are scared to talk. Let me tell you, if you take out time to call the 85% of the average citizens in the Southeast that we have insecurity now, they are scared of the government. They don't trust the government. They are scared of the unknown government. They're not unknown about them. They are people they know. Because this guy, the people are, that's why somebody can stay in Finland, a bandit can stay in Finland and announce it at home for 1 week. And the people will be killed and maimed. Nothing happens. Government is not doing anything to deal with the root cause of the cancer. Have you ever seen a country where one man who is not a state actor gives orders? People are being killed every day. People are being forced at home and die in hunger and destitution. Yet the governments of the day, at the state level, at the federal level, are not doing anything to stop the menace. I, as Governor Osarogie, wherever it is, will stop insecurity in 6 months.
Right. Mr. Obiaraeri, there's so many layers to this conversation. It's unfortunate that the people of Nigeria have to be the ones to suffer for some of these choices that have been considered ill-timed or poor or lacking of integrity. But we will continue to have these conversations. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right.